Right, let's get into the final category of the third quarter, I think this is. It is the other category. I got a bit lazy here, but like there were leftovers from the other categories, and I just put them all in this one. Quadrilateral Cowboy. Let's get the full name of the game and do some Googling, shall we? Using the old Google. It's just called Quadrilateral Cowboy. That's the full name. But if you click on a poster, it says it's 20th century cyberpunk, and I guess that's what I wanted. It's from 2016. It is one of those indie games. I'm going to stop looking at the Wikipedia page because I'll just end up reading the Wikipedia page, and I don't want to do that. It is... I first played this as a part of itch.io's... It was like a charity thing, and I was trying to play all of them like half an hour. Anyway, I finally returned to this game as I said I would. The gimmick is you are doing heists. Well, you are practicing heists. This is the first time I've spoken today, and I don't know if you can tell. So you are these cuboid people in a cuboid world, and you have a little computer, and you gotta explain this better. I'm making these all videos now, so hopefully you should be able to actually just see the screen. But the gimmick is every heist you can just sort of float around the world that you're doing a heist, because gathering information is free. It's a free action. You get to do it as an invisible ghost thing, but you're generally going to be using like bounce pads to jump onto this platform, and then you get out your trusty laptop and you're going to hack things, and you have to do a little bit of programming, and the game is going to add extra things to complicate situations, and it can be very satisfying. You've got to make sure like your laptop and your monitors are near each other, that you understand the situation and that you time things right, and you have to program the timing things, and it's one of those games that when everything flows correctly, it's like the levels are quite short once you know what you're doing. It's like 4 or 5 minutes, because it's just you figuring out the puzzle of how am I going to get that biscuit outside. Well, I've got to open those 2 doors, but there's some glass. I'll use a gun to shoot through the glass. But occasionally it'll throw up something, and I mean, there's been at least one glitch where the button didn't press, and I didn't know if I was doing something wrong, but no, it was actually the game for once. I specifically wanted to play this game because they've made not a sequel, I suppose, like a spiritual successor, but not really, that I was excited to play, and I still haven't yet. That I cannot find. I'm trying to find. Spiritual. I'm googling. Successor. Skin Deep. I've been meaning to play a game called Skin Deep, which is like a much higher budget, and you're like a first person lady doing heists but in deep space, and you have to cut off people. There's a whole thing. Hopefully we'll be playing that next year, but like I have not finished Quadrilateral Cowboy because I hit a level and I just didn't understand a thing, and I just haven't gone back to it. But when it all flows nicely, I was enjoying myself immensely. Book of Hours. Now, if I know what happens if I Google this, it will talk about the Book of Hours, which is not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the computer game, the Book of Hours. Book of Hours is by the people who made a different game. It's by Weather Factory, called Cultist Simulator, and it is essentially a sequel to Cultist Simulator. And it's going to be easier for me to explain Cultist Simulator, but if I don't have it on the screen, that might be confusing. But the way you interact, it is a sort of strange simulation game based on cards, and like every action you can do is card based, and you slot the cards like they're sort of verbs into nouns or nouns into verbs. Oh my goodness, I just realized conceptually this is actually really difficult to explain. Let's not worry about Cultist Simulator. Book of Hours. You arrive in a Cornish island. You're trying to get into a spooky library. In fact, every single fucking room in that library is going to be an ordeal to get into. But like, you can't just go places. It's a puzzle. You're floating above the island, like you would in a strategy game. But like, so you want to talk to people at the pub. Well, how do you do that? You have to use like effort, but the effort isn't like just called effort. It has this strange spooky name, and you have to learn what all the like the words mean. So you put like effort. I'm going to just use the word effort because it's just going to be easier to explain. I'm going to go to the pub and use my charisma, and like I might tell a story, and that will get me another card, and I can use that card in that situation. And eventually you'll have to like, what's the way that I'm struggling. I am struggling. Hopefully stuff on the screen explains a tiny bit, but like, it's a sort of eldritch horror is the sort of point where there's something beneath the surface of everything going on. So you're sort of mundanely trying to open up rooms which will have books in, and those books will have ideas that can inspire you, or you like, but like simulation wise, you're also just trying to find a person down the pub and then giving them a cup of tea, and like maybe that's enough for them to help you open the room because it's an engineer or passing poet. There are these sort of elements, and you're going to lean into a certain elements, but they're not fire, water, or like earth. They're like the concept of knock. If you want to get to somewhere, you need to use the concept of knock, because that's the, but the concept of winter, that's more death. What Cultist Simulator does really well, and Book of Hours does really well, is it implies the existence of this grand universe that you just won't understand because it's all too well, like, what is an hour? Well, the Book of Hours is a real life book, like I think it's an Egyptian book, but an hour in this universe is like a class of demon. And then the game never fucking neither game ever tells you this outright. You just have to realize that like a name is something. It's a lower class than an hour, and an hour is a higher, because you've in Cult Simulator you literally pick a cult based on one of these elements. You might have a knock cult or a moth cult or whatever. But in Book of Hours you're a librarian trying to get into a giant. So I guess the core difference is the Cultist Simulator is technically like roguey. You have to keep starting the game again, but each run is like 40 fucking hours. I mean, it is, because even playing the game can be quite difficult because it just doesn't tell you what to do. It's just like there's a table, they have cards, try and figure out how they interact in interesting ways. And yeah, there'll be like, well, you know, you can only use green cards in this situation, so it sort of makes sense to just try the green cards. But like, there's just so much going on with, and the fact that all fits and slots and works quite well, and it just tells this really interesting story, both of them. But like Book of Hours clearly wants to be slightly less abstract, so instead of there just being a table, no, there's an island with a library on it, and you're literally doing stuff. You do have a button that puts you into weird brain space that you're trying to expand with all this knowledge. I would recommend, but I feel like only a very specific type of person would be remotely interested in a game like this. It is, there's a few times I've said during what I've played that it's a bit dry. It is rich with lore, but I suppose dry in the sort of like, okay, you're just dragging cards around and then you have to wait for like 10 seconds. At its hardest when you're like struggling for money or like health, which is a thing because you can use your health to like deal with situations. I don't think you can ever die, but like timing is a factor. You're spinning plates, as it were. But like, there's a lot of people who are just gonna look at this and just go, "Is this just words? There's just so many words." And I'm looking at the trailers. It's just like, yeah, you use Arab, you drive Arab, you put it into the skill deck. So that has reminded me. So the way you completed Cultist Simulator is by moving on with your knowledge, and to do that, you just needed to gather these really kind of esoteric series of cards. Just realizing you need to do that is actually quite a struggle. It's a sort of game where you might just find a nerd on the internet who just tells you how to fucking play the game. But like, that's one of its strengths. It doesn't want to be straightforward, and like when it all works and when it all flows, it's wonderful. But like, there is a flow there. It just doesn't tell you, and like it wants you to discover that. But when it doesn't, it's just like, I don't know what to do, and it feels like nothing's going on, and I've got 100 cards, and there's a billion items, because I've unlocked all these rooms, but like, spells and certain rituals are going to require you to have like 5 different categories of things, and progression essentially needs you to understand how to get all these things and timed right, because days, like, it's all timed to days. So the morning, you wake up in the morning and it'll be a sunny day, and that's a factor. You can put the sunny day card in, and you're like, well, shit, sunny day makes people happy, don't they? So I need a happiness spell, and I hope I get an artist that'll inspire. So like, and I'll get a cup of tea, but I'll need some Darjeeling tea, won't I? Because that's the best. But of course, you're going to need to know all this information, so you're going to need Nope. It's very good for, like, I only played this like an hour this year because I wanted to remember how to play it. I played it on a previous year, and I'm sort of ranting because I've never really been able to talk about it. And Cultist Simulator, I actually poured like hundreds of hours into, and I want to go back. But my God, it has to be your life for a while. It is, like, I'll occasionally, at some point I might talk about a Myst game, and I get a bit impatient streaming Myst because I don't know what to fucking do, and like, streaming it's got to be really dull. But like, the reason, like Riven specifically, you have to just live in that world. If you want to, like, the proper way to play those games is you're gonna be stuck for a while. Just live in that world, but there's actually nothing to fucking do. It's why I liked Blueprints, because you doing stuff, but the problem with Blueprints is when you're doing stuff, you're not looking at puzzles. But Book of Hours, the way it solves this situation is like, oh, there's always stuff to do. You can fuck around with cards, but like, you have to figure out this puzzle as well. But yeah, it is, because it's dealing with Eldritch Horror beneath the surface, but it's its own brand of Eldritch Horror. It's never going to talk about Cthulhu. It's only going to talk about the Colonel, or like all these esoteric terms that I'm not going to be able to like comedically pull from the meandering of Leicesterfall. You know, it's always going to be like esoteric shit that you just don't know at first, but eventually you will put all together, and all their connections, and who the Colonel is, and there's a history. I mean, you're in a library for a reason why there is a literal history, but it's the secret history. I'm reading the thing again. It's set in the 1930s as well, and it's on a Cornish island, isn't it? It had to quote fucking my last thing I'm going to say about this, because I've gone way over. It has lots of quotes from real life people, but like, the person who made it obviously was like, well, I need a Cornish person, I need a Cornish artist. Sadly, no Head, Love and Pass Man, but it does but it does have it's like Aphex Twin, and I'm like, well, he wasn't around in the 1930s, but like, time is doobly doobly, isn't it? So anyway, let's move on to the next game, because it's time. Tower Wizard. Tower Wizard is not going to have footage of John on, because I didn't stream it. I didn't want to. What a basic fucking name. It's a one of those. There's a cookie clicker, whatever that genre is called. Incremental game, and you are building a tower, and it's all twee, like twee. It's you know, it looks nice, and every clicker, it is. I guess the gimmick for this clicker game is it's only 8 hours long. So in case you haven't played it, the way you play a clicker game is you click on the screen and you click, and oh look, now you have a thing that'll do the clicking for you. But you might want a load of those. Oh, now you've got 10 of those, and you can unlock this thing, and you're gonna satisfyingly unlock an entire tree, and then at some point, you're going to destroy it all and start again, but it'll be more efficient the second time around, because you've unlocked a thing and make it more efficient the second time around. And yeah, it's a satisfying little game. You build the tower up and up and up, and you're going to have people on the ground, and the tower's going to go in different directions. You're going to research, and the way different trees work, everything does something different, and eventually you're going to have a war with the wall on the outside of the world. That's got a name. I think it's the Firmament. And yeah, the fact that it's a short incremental game that uses all these ideas that like ones that are 1 billion hours long use makes it actually quite a satisfying game. Probably could have just streamed it, but it's like also to click a game, so I'm reluctant to ever stream one of those, because nothing is going on for that. It's something you play on the side. You can sort of actively play Tower Wizard because it's a shorter game, But I didn't know that when I started it. But yeah, if you ever have multiple screens and want to occasionally go, ooh, buy that, Towers is probably quite good for that. Baby Steps. I just don't know. No. Why? Okay, Baby Steps is a QWOP-like. In case you don't know what QWOP is a browser game, and you are one of those, the racer car. It's by Bennett Foddy. QWOP is by Bennett Foddy. I should be more clear. Baby Steps is by a few people, and I will probably... when you load the game, it literally says their names. But, like... I'm going to be lazy and just say Bennett Foddy, even though that's like not what not what they want. But like QWOP is you are a racer and you have like your controls are Q, W, O, and P, which are Q, W next to each other, O and P next to each other, either side of the keyboard. And two of those buttons are legs and two of those buttons are arms. And if you get exactly the right rhythm, you might be able to get them forwards like a meter, but it's just going to flop over uselessly. Bennett Foddy, I suppose nowadays, is most famous for the game Getting Over It, where you were a man in a pot and you had to use your mouse to control a hammer that you very slowly climb a mountain of like stuff while he talks philosophy at you. And you're going to fall and you're going to lose hours of progress. And the people on the Twitch, they'll go, I've lost hours of progress. I'm performatively angry. Oh my goodness, my viewer numbers are through the roof. Like that. That's the genre. And there are games that lean more into the like anger genre. I don't think that's what Baby Steps is. Mainly because Baby Steps... okay, how do you play Baby Steps? Well, you use a controller... and you have one button and it lifts your left leg up, and you have another button and it moves your right leg up, and you can tilt the guy. So you want to tilt slightly forwards and go left, right, and he will walk forwards. Will he use his arms? Only if you find a hat or a fruit. In fact, the first time you find a fruit, so getting to just... John, maybe you should plan these. No, never. You have a destination. It is forwards. There's clearly you're going to the top of a mountain, but you will have like rests along the way. So there's a progression in this game. The first you're trying to get to pots of milk, I think it is, and the first one's going to take you a while, but you will establish a rhythm pretty quickly. To be honest, you'll get good at this. But the thing is, you'll get good at standard ground, but then there'll be muddy ground or snowy ground or milky ground. You may have to do stuff in midair. And of course, if you fall off a mountain, you're going to be on the ravine at the bottom. But you will make progression. It's impossible to get to the start of the game by the end. You're not going to fall that far. You will fall locally, but not like... you will always have made meta progression. But the other half of the game is comedy. There are these improvised skits by one of the other makers. It's all like involving the strange... You play a guy called Nate. He was watching One Piece. Sadly, he's not going to be able to watch One Piece anymore. I know, right? He's teleported away from his Netflix, and he's been isekai'd into a new world filled with naked donkey men. I mean, they're not naked. They're wearing like t-shirts, but that just makes them look more naked. And Nate's just like too anxious to ask for help. Like the first scene establishes, it's like, hey, here's a map, here's some shoes, and Nate's just like, and you never get the map and some shoes. And there's a very, very good joke later where somebody tries to hand you the map, and a bunch of UI pops on the screen, and then immediately fucks off because you're not getting UI, but it's a great joke. It's very, very funny. It's there is a plot about like a sort of learned helplessness, I suppose, but like. It is not as maddening as you might think it will be. Like, I've not been to the peak of the mountain at the end because that's in the epilogue. If you want to do that, if you want to get angry performatively on the internet, you totally can. But also, there's an ending and there's a credit screen, and I really enjoyed it. It's really fun. There's a bit where you'll see there is a game that I love called UFO 50. It should have been lots of people's games of the year. It was great. It was about 50 games. It was pretending to be Action 52. But apart from what if Action 52 actually contained good games and not just cheater men. And yeah, sure, not all of UFO 50 was great either. But most of them were okay, and some of them were fantastic. Bennett Foddy made one of those games, and it was just like trying to launch a walrus to the right, and the way he uses art, it's just pixel art, but the way like you progress a bunch through like weather. That was a terrible sentence. You know what I mean. The weather conditions. And then eventually he uses like chromatic, like this hint of chromatic like noise. And you're like, oh, I must be at the end. Like he's really good at doing stuff like that with like simple art techniques. And so in the world of Baby Steps, you'll see fruit on trees and they have this like haze around this, the chromatic haze. And you're like, oh, that's got to be important. And so you'll go, okay, I know my destination's up this just small hill, but if I can sidle up to this tree and like you have to use advanced techniques, I can get that some fruit. And then when you get close, the game says grab and you press the grab button, but you're not close enough. So what Nate will do, he'll lean forwards, try and grab it and fucking fall all the way to the bottom. And it's a funny joke. It's a Dark Souls you died joke because you didn't realize the bridge was slightly to the left. But yeah, you will learn techniques. You will learn when to run quickly. You will learn that you have to hold on one foot for a while if you're in snow. They're like, sand works differently. It's quite satisfying to play, and you can get good at it. But also, yeah, it was a game that every time I fell, it was funny. I didn't go, there was no reason for me to get angry. I've learned how to walk up that section. I know, like, I'm just going to avoid the muddy bit. Also, the game's quite good at just giving you... It's huge. The world loops left to right, which it's not obvious at the start because your routes are probably more straightforward. But at the end, when you're like, I don't fucking know how to get put up this sand dune, you'll walk around and you'll be like, hang on, how am I here again? It does a really good job. But then, obviously, that mountain in the distance has, like, infinite twins going off in the horizon. You're like, okay, it's looping. I see. But yeah, when you fall, you've already learned how to walk up that section, so it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. But yeah, there's a bit where you have to do in the dark, and you have to have a lantern, and that lantern can get dropped, and you're like, oh, I've made so much progress, please drop the fucking lantern. So you have to just purposely flop over and grab it. Yeah, massive recommend. It is. You will not get angry unless you, I don't know, have no patience at all. Clover Pit. This is the first of 2 Pit games. Clover Pit is one of those roguelites. I'll have the footage here, and it sort of seems like nothing's going on because all you do is you play on the one-armed bandits. But you might go to hell if you die. All it is. It's one of those machines. I forget what they're called now. Fruit machine. But because it's roguey, because it's roguelitey, which is nothing like rogue, but like I'm hoping you understand what I mean by that. Because it's that, you can affect how much money you get by the fruit. So like it's a fruit machine, so apples are worth more than lemons and lemons are worth more than elves, right? Whatever. So I want those ones. I want the ones that give me the big monies, but no, there's less chance of them coming up. So you will be able to buy items to put on your shelf. Your shelf will have like 10 slots, and some of these items will say, you'll have a bigger chance of like that coming up, or when this comes up you'll get some bonus money, or like all sorts of things. So it's all about what items you buy and what order you get, but also you'll get phone calls in between. You need to pay the devil amount of money, so you'll be using some money on the slot machine and paying the devil some money, and it's all just about just getting all these flavors to come together into one whole, so you suddenly like, I'm making loads of ding ding ding, all the money, and it's very satisfying to get all the ding ding dings. You'll get the the dream is to get the most expensive icon, which I assume is a clover, and have the odds be so much that you will it'll be a grid full of clovers. But also you're going to get bonuses for those diagonal lines and the up lines and the squares and thing, and you can get so much. But also you might get 666 and then you'll lose all the money on the run. But also maybe you want to use that for like to do the special cursed items. It's systems and systems and systems, but like visually speaking, it's not going to be obvious because all the systems are introduced by random items, changing the chances of things happening. It's very satisfying. I've unlocked cards that'll change the way the game's played, but I've not actually had a chance to use them yet. I know they put an update up which made it so you couldn't infinitely do stuff, and people get quite grumpy when that happens because it's fun to be good at the game and they want it, so there's a progression. But yes, if there's, I don't know, demo. I don't understand why demos only last like a week. Just give people real demos. But I don't know. But Northern Lion played it. If you're remotely interested, watch Northern Lion play for an hour. You know what it is. He's good because he'll be like selectively bad at things in ways that you go, I could do better than that. It's a big recommend. Northern Lion. There you go. Bonus one. Finally, Ball Pit. I played the demo and I wasn't impressed with Ball Pit, but I will say, and I've gone through a journey. I played the game and okay, I get it. There are two modes to Ball Pit. There is a timed-based, almost incremental farming mode where all your dudes are pinballs it's Arkanoid, it's Breakout, right? The main mode. Let's not talk about the farm mode. The main mode is that you are walking forwards and it's constant Arkanoid, but the Arkanoids are like blocks with like faces on, and they'll have health, and they might be shielded, or they might be radared, or they might just be in an awkward shape, and you're going to shoot pinballs at them and eventually break them down. But of course, the world is constantly moving at you. The world will also slightly widen. I think this is actually the cleverest thing in the game, where you are in a thin lane, like a bowling lane, and so that's perfectly doable, but it keeps getting slowly wider as you progress. But like along the way, you will earn enough coins or whatever it is to get superpowers, and now you can shoot better balls. But you might be able to squish those balls together, and you'll be like, fuck, no. Now I have acid balls, and I've evolved them into super acid. So you're making those decisions along the way to see if you can have the most efficient set of upgrades, because not all the things evolve together. You might just squish them together, which is not quite as good as evolving them. And of course, the level will only last so long, so you don't want to plan that far ahead either. But hypothetically speaking, you might just have 4 evolved sets of like balls of all the most complementary extra items, and you'll go to pew pew pew, and there'll be pinballs everywhere destroying everything. Like the farm mode, your dudes, which are ostensibly the people shooting out the pinballs, but they're also pinball folk, will angularly hit things in your farm, which will like unlock things in your farm, and you unlock extra characters that have slightly different behavior in the main mode. My only issue with this is I think the farm, if you get good at it, actually trivializes the main game. Once I realized this, I haven't really played it much since. There is a skill element in catching the pinball, so you can immediately launch it. And so like some pinballs say they are ethereal, they will bounce and not hit a dude, which means they might not come back for ages, or they might be ethereal until they hit the back of the wall, and they'll be constantly hitting the back, which is useful when there's a load there and you're like melting them from the back. It's not useful if you're about to lose the game, because the block's going to hit the bottom of the screen and you're like, I just need to shoot those, I don't care about the back ones. There is there's strategy there in what you're aiming for and the angles you use, and like being clever about capturing things. But the farm is a little bit too generous if you're good at it. You're just gonna win the game eventually if you just do the farm enough. And that's how an incremental game works. It's an interesting combination, but I think it could have done with some more walling. Because it's not fun realizing, I'm just gonna win this regardless of where I shoot, because pinballs, they be bouncing, you know? Maybe they'll probably patch. I'll come back to it. Maybe you can just not use a farm, but the thing about an incremental game is you're going to want to be as efficient as possible. That's the enjoyment you get out of that section. And I think I might be overreacting. It's fine. There's like 18 different pinballs you can play as, and they basically start with different powers, and there's some interesting things. There's one where you shoot 2 at once, but you do half strength and things like that. But yeah, I think I liked it. Like I sounded like I didn't like it at the end. It just felt a little unsatisfying when you're like, but I'm just gonna win anyway if I just play long enough. Which is how RPGs work. But RPGs are quite good at being like, you know what, you don't get to level up in this section because we want you to like we've balanced it for this one. Whereas the incremental mode, you could just not play the game and just do the incremental mode because it's just based on timing, right? But like that'd be rubbish. And so as long as you get that balance right, I'm sure it's fine.